Welcome to Two Idiots and a Dog, Idiots Unleashed.
The only podcast that steals other people's taglines. Sorry, Robots Don't Age.
Sorry. Anyway, I'm Grimm.
I'm Zolgar. Kaiju's around here somewhere. Of course, just a quick warning. This is an uncensored podcast. So you may hear adult language or other content not suitable for children, the workplace, church, or even human consumption.
This week, our topic is movies we'd like to fix, which was submitted by Rain over on the Discord. If you have an idea for a topic for us, you can let us know on our Discord or social media, but you can only vote in the topic poll on Discord.
Now stand back.
Because the idiots are about to be unleashed.
Dun dun dun!
Movies we want to fix. Wow, what a great topic. Like, when I first saw this one suggested, I was like, oh, you were there.
Yeah, because, so this was actually the very first topic suggestion we got.
Yeah, and it's a doozy, strong out of the gate. We didn't do it sooner because, well, the polls chose otherwise.
So also my comment when we saw this one was something to the effect of, this is why we shop it out to you guys, because you have better ideas than we do.
Pretty much. When in doubt, exploit the fan base.
Exactly.
And so what we did, let me just get into the conceit of this episode a little bit before I get started here, is we have selected 5 films, we may not get to them all, that we have decided we would like to fix in some way, shape, or form.
Do we want to go ahead and go through a quick, just no mentioning anything, just rundown of our films, just for the sake of it?
I think we can do the rundown. Be aware we may not get to all of our films in this episode, but depending on how well this episode does, we might do a sequel at some point in the future.
Or 20 sequels, because there are a lot of movies we could fix.
Listen, we have no shame. We have no dignity. We're just 2 idiots and a dog. If you keep giving us money, we'll do it.
Yup.
So my list is kind of ended up having a bit of a theme, and I will get into that a little more later when we start presenting. I'm going to hold my 5th back, though. That's going to be a nice little surprise if we get to it.
I'm just going to say something.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we don't actually get all the way through the list, we have to do your 5th.
Okay, I'll cram it into the end if we need to.
Kinky.
How you doing, audience? And so now that we have a restraining order from about 8/10 of the internet, my list, the first 4 on my list are Suicide Squad. That would be the original film, the one that James Gunn didn't do.
Yeah, so Suicide Squad, not The Suicide Squad.
Yep. Godzilla 1998.
A.K.A. GINO.
Or Godzilla in name only. 2005's Constantine with Keanu Reeves. And the 2008 Max Payne movie starring Mark Wahlberg.
So, my list also has a theme. My list's theme is sequels.
Oh no.
My list is Pacific Rim Uprising, Alien Covenant, which is both a prequel and a sequel, interestingly enough, Tremors 7, yes, there are 7 of them, and a TV series.
Uh-huh.
Terminator Genisys.
Oh, God.
And The Predator. That would be the most recent one, not the original Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, God. This is going to be a train wreck, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. But not as much of a train wreck as some of those films.
All right. I'm just going to start us off with Suicide Squad. So the first thing I want to say about this film is the greatest crime is that this film was almost good.
I disagree. It was terrible.
The casting was top-notch. The soundtrack was amazing.
Okay, I'll give you both of those with one exception. Leto.
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't including him. Get him out of here.
Also, that was not the Joker, and that is coming from someone who is not a DC Comics fan. That was not the fucking Joker.
That was some prick wannabe. God. Like, I get what they were going for, but no. fuck no. All right. So, him notwithstanding, because I don't even consider him part of the cast, I tend to just... My personal headcanon is he just wandered on set, already done up like that, and nobody had the wherewithal to have him removed by security. Pretty good cast overall. They actually had a relatively decent selection of B to D list villains with a couple of A-listers sprinkled in. And the story could have worked with a little bit of tweaking. The best parts of this film were the moments where it was allowed to not take itself seriously. The opening placards introducing our Suicide Squad were great. I mean...
They were straight out of Borderlands.
Lawton's was amazing. It was trained in gun, and musket. And I lost it. I was laughing hysterically when I saw that. And I had hope for the film. And then it was cruelly dashed.
The biggest problem is we didn't get to see Floyd use a musket.
They should have worked it in somewhere. Come on. Chekhov's musket! So what would I do to fix this movie? I just said all the things that were wrong with it. What are some of the things that are wrong with it? Well, first of all, the pacing was abysmal. The characters... These actors were so criminally underutilized. They pretty much only let 3 people chew on scenery. And that was Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and the guy that played Captain Boomerang. I can't remember his name off the top of my head either. Sorry. You were great in this film, though. Really. They let Leto try to chew on scenery. Did not work. And I hesitate to call any of Waller's scenes chewing on scenery, but her presence was absolutely felt in every scene she was in.
Oh, and I mean, the actress they got playing Amanda Waller was top-notch. She is... You cannot help but hate her and want her to die a slow, horrible, painful death.
Yeah, and that's Waller, baby!
Yup.
And they introduce her with sympathy for the devil! Like, the sound, the musical choices for this were perfect. So you have this entire rest of your cast. The guy playing Rick Flag, criminally underutilized. The guy playing, what was his name, El Diablo or whatever? Criminally underutilized.
Croc.
The fact that he was underutilized to the extent he was underutilized should be a war crime.
Now here's the question. How do we fix it? My opinion? Give it to James Gunn. You're done.
Well, they already did that. It's called The Suicide Squad.
Well, yeah. So they should retroactively give this one to James Gunn and let him fix it.
The James Gunn cut. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, how would I fix this? Well, first of all, I would let these characters be characters. The best scene in the whole movie isn't the cool, badass, Hollywood-style action sequences. It's towards the middle end of the film. They've given up. They've decided, screw this, we're out, we're all gonna die anyway, who cares? And they go to a hotel bar, they take it over, they sit down, and they just BS. And it's the best scene in the movie. So, step 1, let them chew the scenery more. Let them be characters, let them converse, let them have relationships. So, like I said, let them be characters. Very important. 2, humor. This movie went Hollywood grimdark so fast. We had a strong comedic opening with Lawton snarking on the firing range, El Diablo just being like, bye with his fire. Like, we had these setups, Harley being Harley. And once we got out in the field, generic grimdark action shooter.
Because unfortunately, Warner Brothers does not understand that not all DC is Batman. Batman is grimdark. That is acceptable. But not everything needs to be grimdark.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that the sequel did right, is it allowed itself to make fun of itself. did not take itself seriously. And when you're dealing with a property like Suicide Squad, that's the way to go.
Honestly, the Suicide Squad was Guardians of the Galaxy with the word fuck thrown in.
Pretty much, and it worked. You have to understand, the Suicide Squad comics is where we got King Shark is a shark. That's where the meme was born.
Hand.
Yes, that is your hand. Very good. Like, the fact that the first movie had almost no real humorous undertones to it is criminal. And I keep saying criminal because, seriously, whoever wrote the script should go to jail. They should serve time. What they did to these characters is a travesty. Also, can we get a villain that isn't just Magic MacGuffin of the day? I feel like making Enchantress part of the team and then making her the villain, ultimate villain, just was... no. Like, I get it, but no. We need to bring in some other threat, some external force completely. Especially because by setting all of that up, that means that we ultimately have to kill her, thus robbing ourselves of her fantastic performance as Enchantress.
Yeah, that's actually one of my problems with both of the Suicide Squad movies, is we get all of these characters set up, but because it's Suicide Squad, we kill so many of them. I mean, good God, how many did they kill off in the sequel?
The entire first team?
Which was a criminal underuse of Michael Rooker.
But an entertaining one.
Yes, I will grant that. But we're not talking about the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, we're talking about Suicide Squad here, where we have... I will say another thing I would do is I would be willing to kill off more of the squad itself, because we really only lost, what? El Diablo and Slipknot? And who the fuck cares about Slipknot? That would be the character, not the band. Good music.
Slipknot was straight up just killed so that we could actually see that, yes, the bombs in their neck were a real thing.
And it was telegraphed to fuck because everybody got an intro placard except him and Flag.
Well, there is one other character we killed in it. Enchantress.
Yeah, we killed Enchantress and her brother. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one other character who didn't get a placard, but who also survived, and that was Katana, who was great. And, like, again, if they had allowed these characters to be characters, it would have been a so much better movie. And that's, I think, with those tweaks, it would have worked. Oh, one big thing. Final thing. Stop trying to shoot all your comic books like action shooter movies. Stop it.
And one other last thing, of course. Don't put Joker in, or if you do, don't make it Jared Leto.
Can we get a real Joker? Not this guy? Anyway, yeah, so that's where I would start, honestly. Because again, it was almost a good movie, and that's the depressing part.
Speaking of almost good movies, Pacific Rim Uprising.
Oh, God. All right, I know how I would fix this, but let's hear you go first.
Well, the easy way to fix this, is give it to Del Toro.
I mean, yeah, but your solution to every problem can't be give it to a different director.
True. I'm trying to remember, I think there was actually a film that he turned this down to do, and I don't remember which one it was. It may have been one of the Blade movies? No, these came out way after Blade.
Crimson Peak?
Maybe.
I
don't know.
That was about the same time, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Anyway, not important.
But, so let's see. A couple of the major things I would do to fix this movie is, first of all, we do not fridge Mako.
Yeah, whoever made that decision doesn't get jail. They get the gulag.
We need to yeet them into the sun. Because fridging a character, or fridging a woman is bad enough. But Mako, especially, and then how they did it, just like, oh, she figured something out. Oh, nope, she's dead.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. No, I'm serious. Whoever wrote that, whoever decided that was a great idea, go fuck yourself.
Then there's also the fact that we make Newt the villain. And I actually can see that, especially because, okay, he drifted with the kaiju, and that we see in the first one that does fuck with him. It screws with his brain, so, okay, maybe it but no, it didn't work the way they presented it, and again, that's a horrible underuse of the character.
And it pissed me the hell off because they fridged my first favorite character, and then they made my other favorite character the fucking bad guy.
Which, of course, that goes into the whole queer coding the villains, because we did get a bit of a queer coding of that character in the first movie. Not enough for us to actually say, oh, well, he's gay, but just enough to have that hint that maybe him and... I forgot the other doctor's name.
Yeah, I don't know either off the top of my head. But yeah, and this, not only did the sequel back off of that completely, but making him the villain is just fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah, this sequel, it had some really interesting concepts going in it. I mean, I love the Kaiju Jaeger hybrids, which are so screwed up, but such a cool concept.
Yeah, those were really cool. I feel they were criminally underutilized.
Yeah. Also underutilized was John Boyega.
Absolutely. Yep. Y'all did him dirty. You should feel ashamed of yourselves.
Did not do him as dirty as the Star Wars sequels did, but that's a different argument.
You had to bring it up, didn't you? No, give me a minute. Give me a minute. Okay, I think I'm good.
Now, one of the things I liked about it and would like to have seen more of is I loved the fact that our female protagonist in this one was a mechanical genius who built her own Jaeger.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And that little Jaeger was really cool. But again, it was not very well utilized. Her skill was not well utilized. I am very annoyed at them for doubling down on using the name of the primary Jaeger from the original.
Yep.
Because, okay, the original, I can understand it was not as well known that term was a hurtful slur, but when they made the second one, they should have known better, and
they just doubled down.
Yeah. And, I mean, here's the thing. We didn't even need that Jaeger back in the sequel. We could have had other Jaegers, because there are so many cool Jaegers.
Yeah, I will say some of the Jaeger designs we saw were pretty cool in Uprising.
And, I mean, of course, the monsters merging together was so stupid, but God, it was cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, like there were some tiny elements of this that were great. I'm going to cut in for just a moment here. One of the big things I would fix, go back to using Del Toro's rules for the Jaegers.
And the Kaiju.
Yeah, the rule for the Kaiju is, could be played by a guy in a rubber suit. And the rules for the Jaegers is, they have mass.
Yeah.
And they just completely screwed the pooch with that in Uprising.
Uprising, overall, it was a soulless cash grab.
Yeah, and you could tell.
And that's part of the reason I say to give it to Del Toro, is because the way you fix that is by putting someone in charge of it who cares about the property, who cares about the world that was set up here, and not just, oh, we can make money off of this.
Yeah, and until the animated series came along, we were fairly convinced Pacific Rim was dead.
Yeah.
After this movie.
Now, Pacific Rim the Black is well worth watching. I am glad it's getting a second season.
Well, Netflix still exists.
I'm hoping that it gets a third season, but that's probably not going to happen.
We're not going to get into that. But, yeah. Alright. Do you have any other points on Uprising?
Don't fridge women.
Especially ones who spark tests about how good women are portrayed in your fucking movies. Gremlin Grimm.
What would that be? Gremlin?
Gremlin! Yes! Yes! You have activated Gremlin mode! Inarticulate vowel sounds! Okay.
What is wrong with us?
I don't know, but I swear to God, if that becomes a thing with the fan base and I have to do that voice repeatedly. Now it's gonna happen, just because I said it. Alright, so we're gonna go on a little time travel trip. We're gonna go back to the halcyon days of 1998.
Simpler times.
Yeah.
I miss the innocence of being 14.
I was 13. Still in middle school.
The world hadn't gone completely to shit. We still believed in...
I was still under the impression the American dream was still alive.
And that's as political as we're going to get.
Uh-huh. There's a little film that came out 1998 that bore a name that we are familiar with. And the name of that movie was Godzilla.
Gojira!
And the fact that it was called Godzilla is, quite frankly, the biggest thing fucking wrong with it!
Yeah, I would have to agree there.
Because here's the thing. The creature they made had a really cool, iconic design.
Yeah, it looked amazing. Its scream was cool, but not Godzilla scream.
It was this primordial apex asexual predator. It was amazing, and it was a really cool take on the whole man versus monster themes that are common in kaiju films. And honestly, the cast wasn't bad. Matthew Broderick did okay. Jean Reno is always amazing in whatever I see him in. I mean, really, we had a solid cast. The script could have used a little more polish, I think, but nothing major springs to mind. Really, the biggest thing I would do to fix this movie is change the fucking title.
Yeah, if you'd called it Mutant Iguana Attack.
Asylum would probably sue, but it wouldn't. The biggest problem with this, and by the way, surprise, the main theme of most of my entries is going to be this. The main problem with this movie is they tried to attach a brand to it and then were not faithful to that brand.
Yeah, this was not Godzilla. There is a reason that most of the Godzilla fan base refers to this movie as GINO. Godzilla in name only.
And it's not a bad movie, especially for a 1998 Monster Mash flick. It really isn't.
Yeah, it's fun. It is terrible fun.
The problem is it tried to crib off of the name of the granddaddy of the genre and then shit the bed. It had nothing to do with Godzilla. Nothing to do with Godzilla at all. I mean, I did. Like, just seriously. It wasn't a bad movie, but the biggest flaw with it is they tried to call it Godzilla.
Alright. My next entry is kind of a twofer, a little bit.
Uh-oh. Alright.
Alright, so, the entry itself is Alien Covenant.
Yep.
And...
oh, shit. I know where you're going with this.
So the first thing is, kind of to your point with the other... With you know, Godzilla and some of your other films, the first problem is that this is a sequel to Prometheus. Prometheus was not a terrible movie, but it should not have been named Alien. I was actually really tossing a toss-up between putting Prometheus and Alien Covenant on this. And I chose Covenant because Covenant had really good bones as an Alien film, but the fact that they tried to tie it to Prometheus, which, again, was not exactly a terrible movie. It was not great, but it was not terrible as a standalone film, but as an Alien film, it failed, and so tying Covenant to that makes it falter as an Alien film.
Yeah, And I think I agree with your pick, because this is the one that actually calls itself Alien.
Yeah. And one of the things that's a big problem, and it's one of the things I would fix about this, and it's kind of that going, okay, stripping away the Prometheus elements, but it's a little bit more than that, and that is one of the strongest, greatest things about the Alien franchise is the fact that we don't know what the aliens are. The only name we ever have for them is xenomorphs. And the thing is, that's not actually their name. Xenomorph basically just means alien.
Alien changer.
Yeah.
Because they have a life cycle. They morph between life cycles. Facehugger spawns chestburster. Chestburster becomes drone. Drone builds hive. Queen shows up somewhere in there, and we get eggs for more facehuggers. That's how this works.
The queen is, if there is not a queen around, or if there needs to be a new hive made, a facehugger spawns a queen inside the host.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting, and it's one of the things I love about the aliens, is the design of the drone that is created is determined by the host creature.
It steals some sort of genetic markers or something, and that influences its physiology. And I mean, we had the runner from Alien 3, from the dog.
We also had the bull alien.
Bull alien. We also have, later in the franchise, we have the Predalien from AVP Requiem, which, horrible movie, but had some really cool monster designs.
And if you go outside of that, you've also seen some other things in, like, the comics and such.
Yeah. So, but one of the overarching things is the mythos and mystery of where did these things come from, and they should never have tried to answer that.
And that is what they did between Prometheus and Covenant, is they answered, oh, well, these were created by the architects to be a weapon for the destruction and of other species, including they were actually going to send them directly to Earth to wipe out all life on Earth.
Because even though they created us, they decided they wanted to kill. That makes no sense. That is, yeah, okay. Yeah, you lost the plot somewhere, guys.
Yeah, and so if you had stripped out that and not done the Prometheus connection, and also the other thing that just irritates me is, like, okay, we find out also that the xenomorphs as we know them were not actually created by the architects, but created by a Weyland-Yutani android.
Yeah.
That just...
Ugh. Through several iterations and genetic manipulation. Yeah.
Like I said, you strip that out, and you put a little bit more focus on the characters in Covenant, and then you spend more time on the fear and dread of the Alien franchise, and Covenant could have been great.
Yeah.
Instead, it was a mediocre entry that was brought down by the movie it was a sequel to.
Pretty much, yeah. And in addition to all of that, I think there's one thing I'm thinking back on, and I'm going all the way back to the original trilogy, right? Original trilogy. And there's one thing that Covenant did that I think breaks with the overarching themes of the original trilogy. There was a storytelling device that they utilized, and that was false hope. We ended each movie in the original trilogy on a note of false hope. Ripley escaped. Ripley escaped with Newt. Ripley destroyed the Queen so there wouldn't be a new infestation. And then that false hope gets dashed, not at the end of that movie, but at the beginning of the next one. Oh, Ripley wakes up and now she's actually being held responsible for the destruction of the ship. They don't care that it killed her crew. They only care about the ship. She can never be on a flight crew again. She has to go basically become a dock worker? That's messed up. Oh, Newt and what's his name died in Hicks. Newt and Hicks died because their pods were sabotaged.
Their pods weren't sabotaged. Their pods just failed.
It's implied they were sabotaged by corporate guy. Never flat out said, though.
I'm going to have to... Well, I plan to rewatch Aliens pretty soon anyway, so I'm going to have to double check that.
And then Alien Resurrection, oh no, we still got enough genetic material to basically clone the Xenomorph Queen.
Do not get me started on Resurrection. That one was almost on my list, too.
I know. But I only bring it up to point out that the original movies of the franchise were predicated on ending on a false hope, and we don't get that in Covenant because that false hope is immediately dashed in the same movie. So it's not really false hope.
Yeah.
We end on a low point.
And now it did partially keep with the alien theme of overall hopelessness and inability to actually stop these things.
Yeah. But its presentation of that theme didn't mesh with the presentation of the original trilogy, and therefore kind of throws the tone off, in my opinion. So that's something I would address if I were to fix this.
Yeah, I think so. If somehow you keep David in there.
Also, real quick note on David. Captain should have shot him in the face the second he caught him hugging one of those aliens. Just empty the mag into the head.
And there is one other thing I would fix on Alien Covenant. This is a very minor thing.
Mm-hmm.
Their android should have been named Edward or Edgar or Emil or any other E name, not fucking whatever the fuck his name was.
I don't even remember. Call him Echo.
Because if you dear fans are not familiar, in the Alien franchise, every android we see up until Covenant, in the order they are released, have alphabetical names. We have Ash in Alien, Bishop in... Well, it was 3, right?
Bishop was 2.
Oh yeah, there wasn't an android in 3. That's right, sorry.
No android in 3.
Bishop in 2, no android in 3, Call in Resurrection, and David in Prometheus, but then they didn't give the...
I think it was a T name or something.
I thought it was a J.
I don't remember.
But yeah, they should have given him an E name.
Also, I want to point out, I watched Prometheus in full, just a few weeks ago, and I've already forgotten the character's name because it just doesn't matter.
Well, Covenant's the one that we forgot the name of. But
yeah, that's what it's...
You said Prometheus.
Oh. Well, I actually watched them both recently, so yeah,
All right, what's your next one?
All right, my next one is, we're going to go do some more time traveling. This time we're going to go to 2005. Nothing really special happened in 2005, actually, come to think of it.
Did 2005 even exist?
I'm not sure. Anyway, that is allegedly when Constantine came out. And the fact of the matter is, we've got this weird pulpy or pulp adjacent with a dash of noir supernatural themes to it movie about an exorcist who's trying to basically buy his way out of going to hell when he dies.
Yeah, and just so we're clear, this one I'm not going to have much on because if I have seen Constantine, it was a long time ago, and I do not remember anything about it, and I have not read the comics because just the storytelling method of them just does not click for me.
Yeah. And funny you mentioned the comics. So Constantine is based on John Constantine of Hellblazer fame, the DC character. And it fucking shouldn't have been. How do we fix this movie? The theme continues. Stop slapping a brand on it and then not staying true to the brand. What we got was not Constantine. What we got was not Hellblazer. What we got was a really good... Well, I wouldn't go that far. But it was a decent, supernatural, pseudo-mystery where we had the forces of heaven and hell locked in eternal struggle with mortality caught in the middle. And it had some really great moments. His arsenal of supernatural, weird little, almost gadgets was really cool. This whole kind of hidden underground supernatural world of these dark forces and the people trying to keep them at bay. Like, these were some really great themes. None of that was Hellblazer. That's not Hellblazer. And you kind of knew, if you were a fan of Hellblazer going in, that this movie was not going to be true to anything. Because Keanu Reeves didn't even dye his hair blonde for this.
Now, I will argue that something superficial like hair color is not as big of a thing.
Part of John's whole thing is that he was inspired design-wise by Sting.
Superficial appearances are not deal-breaking.
I didn't say it was deal-breaking. I just said it was a heavy clue that this movie wasn't going to be true to anything. And it wasn't. They even changed the reason his soul is damned to something stupid. For those that don't remember, John is damned to hell because he tried to commit suicide. And he was technically dead for a few moments, and so that counted, and now he's damned to hell when he dies for real. And the whole premise is he's trying to buy his way out of it. And that's just the dumbest fucking reasoning.
I mean, I hate the concept of if you commit suicide, you're damned to hell anyways, but that is an entirely different topic. We're not going to get into my issues with...
Well, actually, we kind of are, but we aren't, because it does come up again in the movie. Rachel Weisz's character in this film had a twin sister who, in order to get a message out warning of the impending doom of the film, killed herself. Devout Catholic. It was the only way that she could get a psychic message out. Warning that shit's about to get fucked. And how fucked is it? Somebody finds the Spear of Destiny. And anytime that fucking MacGuffin shows up, you know things are getting fucky. What ends up happening is they do touch on the fact that she is in hell. And later on it actually gets referenced again because when the chips are down, Constantine pulls the most Constantine thing he does in the whole movie. He loopholes his way into winning. And so what he does is he repeats his sin. I don't want to keep bringing it up just because I know that topic by name can be triggering for some individuals. But it is a theme in the movie, so that's why I keep bringing it up. But he repeats the original so-called sin, which gets the devil's attention. He shows up in person to collect John. At which point he points out, hey, did you know your kid's in the other room about to try to break into the mortal world and claim it for himself? What? No, of course he's not. I mean, you can go check. It's not like I'm going anywhere. Yeah, okay. Steps over. Lo and behold, sure enough, that's what's happening. He comes back, sits down, like, okay, so you did me a solid there, I guess. I suppose you want to get out of jail free card. I do, but not for me. My friend's sister. Really? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Okay, done. She's in heaven. Cool, let's go. And he starts dragging John off, and all of a sudden can't. Selfless sacrifice. He starts ascending to heaven, at which point the devil goes, No, you don't get out that easy, and takes away the cancer that was killing him, and heals him. It's like, no. You don't get out that easy. I own you. You're going to screw up again, and I'm going to be around to see it. It's the only thing he does in the whole movie that's really pure Constantine. The thing of it is, though, like I said, it's not a bad movie. I would just scrub off the Constantine name. Call him something else. Don't make references to Hellblazer. It was a decent enough, weird, supernatural morality play on its own merits. It didn't need the Hellblazer brand stamped on it.
You know, once you did a breakdown of it, I think I actually have seen that one. But again, it's been so long that I don't really remember. Yeah. But that kind of closing sequence, I vaguely remember that as a finale.
Especially because as he's ascending into heaven, he flips Satan the double bird.
Which that's a very Keanu thing to do.
Very Keanu thing to do, and a very Constantine thing to do. Like I said, but it didn't need that branding. The rest of the movie didn't really conform to it. If you're not even going to bother making a canonically blonde character blonde when you're doing an adaptation of a work, I don't know, it just seems like minimal effort to just give him a freaking dye job. It's not hard. Oh, also, he was very American and not British.
Yeah, that one is a bigger thing to me than not making him blonde. Because not making him blonde, whatever. I do not care about superficial things like hair color for characters unless their hair color is actually something like... Okay, if they make a movie about Psylocke from the X-Men and they don't give her green hair, I'm going to be a little bit annoyed because the green hair was part of her being a mutant.
Psylocke had purple hair.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm thinking Polaris, not Psylocke. Sorry.
Polaris, yeah. Polaris had green hair, I think.
Yeah, Polaris. Polaris was the...
I'm not as familiar with Polaris, honestly.
She was another magnetism character, and she had green hair.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would do primarily to fix Constantine. There's a few other little script cleanups. Like, all of these films are going to have little tiny script cleanup things we could do to make them better. But the main fix is, don't call it Constantine. It was otherwise not a bad movie. Not great, but not bad.
Alright. So, let's come really modern. Let's just come straight forward to the year 2020, which was a shit year anyways. But there was this little movie that came out in 2020 that was a sequel to a franchise that had really started going downhill. And that is going to be Tremors 7 Shrieker Island. Now, it was a toss-up for me whether I wanted to do Tremors 7 or Tremors 5. I actually think Tremors 5 was the worst movie, but Tremors 7 is a bit easier to fix. So, the first thing is, and this also goes for 5 and 6, let Stampede Entertainment do it. Fuck you, Universal.
We have opinions.
But the bones of Tremors 7 was actually kind of a really cool concept. That this big game hunter sets up an island that's basically Jurassic Park for graboids for hunters to hunt one of the most dangerous game in the known world.
Also, it is such a peak white guy thing to do.
Yeah. And that concept is actually cool. That would make, if it had been done well, for a pretty good movie. But the later Tremors sequels, after basically anything after 4 in terms of movies, are just kind of soulless. So you give it a little bit better writing, you make it a little bit more I don't even know how you describe that. You make them more fun, because that's the thing about Tremors, is the Tremors franchise prior to 5 was this weird mix of horror and comedy that was just so stupid it worked.
It was a little schlocky.
Yeah, it was this really fun, hokey, ridiculous, but still just light creature feature or light horror creature feature.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the franchise that one of my favorite moments is from 2, where you see this truck pull up and it is fucked up. You see Bert get out of the truck and he's fucked up. And he just looks straight at the other main character. I cannot remember the character name right now.
I just watched that. It's Fred Ward. It's I keep forgetting his name. I always remember Kevin Bacon's character's name, Val. But
yeah, I always remember Val. I can never remember his name.
Was it Earl?
I think it might have been Earl.
Earl Bass, I think.
Yeah, Earl looks at Earl and he goes, "I am completely out of ammunition. This has never happened before."
And
it's fucking hilarious.
And of course, also, he's the one who's always saying, "I feel I was denied critical need-to-know information because," here's the thing, he went into 2...
expecting graboids.
Graboids.
He brought heavy munitions.
He brought high penetration so he could shoot through the ground, which is one of the greatest scenes in that, when they're going after the truck and there's a Shrieker, and he shoots the Shrieker, and it goes through the Shrieker, through the brick wall, through a whole bunch of other debris, through the engine block of the truck.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that's just what I mean. And I will say, 5 and 6 kind of tried. Did not succeed.
6 was okay. 6 was an entertaining movie, but
7 didn't really have a whole lot of funny.
No, and...
or even really attempts at funny.
Yeah, 7 had no heart, and also, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Michael Gross, or is it Gross?
One of these days we'll find out.
One of these days. But he actually hates that movie. And part of that is because they decided to kill off Bert in it. And... fucking hell. Bert, as a character, dying a heroic death, works. But his death in 7 wasn't heroic. He went out like a chump, and I'm sorry, there is only one goddamn graboid allowed to eat Bert fucking Gummer, and that is El Blanco.
They had an agreement. They came to an understanding.
And if you are not intimately familiar with Tremors, and Tremors 3, we are introduced to El Blanco, who is an albino graboid, so incapable of reproducing, so he never evolves into Shriekers.
Yep, and he's also, as a result, also a little larger than the previous graboids, which actually makes him easier to detect when he's coming.
Yeah, so he is He's kind of just a running secondary threat in Tremors 3, because Tremors 3 is where we get ass blasters.
And he's a recurring background hazard throughout the series.
Yeah.
The TV series, specifically.
Yeah, which, if you have not watched the TV series, you should do that. It's actually available free on Vimeo from the Tremors Saga guys. They are great guys. Yeah. Anyways... so yeah, basically, give it heart and don't kill Bert.
Or at least don't kill him that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think now granted, I will say that him jumping into the thing's mouth with the explosives, doing the double bird, was a great scene.
Yeah, that was pretty good, yeah.
But still.
Alright.
You want to let the episode just go a little bit long and go ahead and go through all 5 of each?
Yeah, fuck it, let's do it. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. If I gave a shit, I just might give a fuck. but I don't give a shit, so I don't give a fuck. Thank you, Hellsing Abridged. Team 4-star. Hilarious shit. You should go watch it sometime. It's all on YouTube.
We're just going to sit here and just, like...
Plug everybody. Why not? Let's go.
While you're at it, also listen to Next on Stage 1.
So my next film will continue the core theme and also capstone the core theme because my fifth has a completely different theme to it. And that is Max Payne from 2008 with Mark Wahlberg. Good old Marky Mark. Now, I don't have an issue with Mark Wahlberg as Max Payne. Mark Wahlberg playing a tortured, miserable white guy? Yeah, fucking works. Fucking works so good, the man made a fucking career out of it. So, first thing we have to touch base on is the theme. And the theme is, don't call it Max Payne if you're not going to make it Max Payne. Like, it by itself, Max Payne was a mediocre, middle-tier, neo-noir action flick.
Yeah, I've seen the movie, but I have not played the game, so I cannot really comment on this element of it.
And about the only thing it shares with the games is the dude's name and the neo-noir feel. They made a whole bunch of unnecessary fucking changes to characters and plot elements. For example, in the movie, the main drug that is at the crux of the conspiracy and story and plot is a drug called Valkyr. And in the game it is a green, often portrayed as glowing, but maybe that's just for effect, serum or liquid or ooze of some kind that I believe gets injected. First unnecessary change they did, they made it blue in the movie. Why? The only thing I can think of is that the VFX team was too fucking lazy to work around a green liquid in all the scenes for green screening and editing. And I'm sorry, if your VFX team cannot work around that, fire them and get a new VFX team. Also, for some reason, the Valkyr makes you see people with wings now in the movie. That's not a thing. That's not a thing in the original.
You know, there is actually another possible reason that they would have made it blue instead of green. And this is actually a possible valid reason.
Okay.
It was not an injectable fluid. It was ingested. So it is possible they chose to differentiate it just a little bit more from glow sticks to help try to avoid kids being fucking idiots and drinking glow sticks.
Yeah, but that's still pretty weak. Like, maybe, but that's still pretty weak to me. There's other issues here. The main central plot had barely anything to do with the game itself. And one of the main antagonistic characters, Jack Lapino, was completely changed in the movie. Jack Lapino is a out-of-control, unstable, ultra-violent mafia enforcer. We're talking Italian mob. And for whatever reason, they made him Latino in the movie and tatted him up. I don't know why. It's a completely unnecessary change.
They had to modernize the gangsta.
No! If you're gonna adapt something. Don't just write a middle-tier, boring-ass fucking neo-noir action movie and slap a franchise on it.
You know, they actually do that a lot.
No shit, and they need to knock it off.
Got anything else on Max Payne?
No, go ahead.
All right. So do you want me to go ahead and do both of my last two?
Yeah, we'll
so
save
we can
mine for
close
last.
on yours.
Well, we'll close on my number 5.
Okay.
It's tasty.
So, again, keeping with my theme of sequels, Terminator Genisys.
Oh, God.
Now, this is another one where there are so many movies in the Terminator franchise that I could have picked. Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation needed work. Even Dark Fate, as much as I love it, was not perfect. The only Terminator movies that were really solid, good movies that did not need anything done to them were 1 and 2. 1 and 2 were brilliant. But the one that stands above them all to me for just being a fucking train wreck is Genisys. And I'm not really sure you can fix Genisys beyond taking the writing crew out back, beating them, firing them, and hiring a different writing crew.
No. They did fix Genisys. They retconned the whole thing in the Dark Fate timeline.
True. Unfortunately, they also... No, actually, the Dark Fate timeline worked. But now, one of the first problems with Genisys is Genisys actually retconned Terminator 1 and 2.
Yeah, okay. You want to know how bad Genisys is? How much of a Terminator fan am I?
Almost as much of one as I am.
I have not seen Genisys, and I never fucking will. I know enough of the plot points to know that I want nothing to fucking do with it.
You know the other thing that's how bad Genisys is? It's got Matt Smith.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
Yeah.
So, if you have not seen Genisys, it opens up the same way that Terminator does. The original Terminator. We focus on Kyle Reese transporting in, or time traveling in, with the intention of, Kaiju's dreaming. She's so cute.
Man, she's out cold, too. I gave her a good pat rub, and she's still out.
Okay, back on track.
We're professionals.
The dog is too cute. So like I say, it sets up to basically completely recap Terminator 1, with Kyle Reese coming back to save Sarah Connor.
Right.
And instead, we find that Sarah Connor knows what's going on and has a reprogrammed T-800 unit, that is, if you're not familiar, Arnold Schwarzenegger's model, that has been with her since she was a kid. She calls him Pops, and they're hunting all of the various Terminators that have come to try to kill her and all that. Since you don't benefit from the video that doesn't exist, Grimm is currently miming stabbing himself in the jugular with an ink pen. That's pencil.
It's pencil, goddammit, get it right.
And here's the thing. That sounds bad. That sounds bad. It gets worse from there.
Kill me now.
They time travel to the future. So in this instance, it becomes time traveling to modern day.
No. You can only go backward. That has been established. You can only go backward. You can't go forward.
Oh, but it gets better. Now, they can't take Pops with them. So Pops takes the long way around, sitting and waiting. So this is how they explain the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger has gotten old, because they decided to make the T-800 models age.
Better blend in, but God, stop, please. Just start telling me how you'd fix it before I have an aneurysm.
Well, there's one other aspect I have to mention before I can say how I'd fix it.
Is it the John Connor shit?
It's that John Connor becomes fucking evil and becomes part of fucking Skynet.
How does that happen? Nanites.
Again, I love the Terminator franchise. I even really like Terminator Salvation. I know a lot of people don't, But I love it. It's got some great elements to it, and I love seeing the post-apocalyptic world of...
Honestly, Salvation's biggest flaw was including John Connor.
Yeah. And...
it didn't need him.
No, it didn't. So, in the universe where I'm not just scrapping Genisys entirely, because that is how it should be fixed...
Retconned, thank you, Dark Fate.
The concept of, even though it screws with the timeline, but I don't mind as much things screwing with the timeline in a movie series that is entirely about time travel and fucking with timelines. The concept of a earlier Terminator going back to save Sarah Connor as a child, I think that's actually pretty cool.
It's an intriguing idea.
And so having this thing of Sarah Connor being a badass from a young age and saving Kyle Reese is amazing. And they could have done some really cool things with that story and the fact that...
I mean...
she, in Genisys, she actually knows that she's supposed to bang Kyle Reese to produce John Connor. And she's sitting there like, I don't wanna.
Yeah, and Sarah Connor, Supreme Badass, is one of the great things that Dark Fate did right.
Yeah, and...
I mean, her intro on the bridge where she steps out of the car and just unloads on the Rev 9 or Rev 8 or whatever it's called. Just... hello.
Yeah.
I am very gay.
So... If they had taken that idea, not fucked with the thing of not being able to travel forwards, and they'd basically redone Terminator, but from this twisted standpoint where the timelines have been so screwed up from so many time travel attempts that it just starts fucking with everything, and we start really exploring the concepts of free will versus fated destiny. It could have worked really well, and that would have completely eliminated the whole John Connor becoming Skynet thing.
Which was dumb as fuck. That's the one main thing I knew about it, and the main reason why I will never watch it.
And, you could have had this thing of spending the entire movie not knowing if Sarah Connor is actually going to end up getting with Kyle Reese, and what they could have done that would have been a really interesting end for Genisys, and it could have been a really cool end to the entire Terminator franchise if they'd wanted, is they could have had Kyle Reese survive and not show Reese and Connor getting together. They could have shown them still being friends, being, these people have been through a lot, they're fighting, but they don't show them getting together, so we don't know if they are completely changing the future by not getting together.
Another thing they could have done, since we can now travel forward, I guess, is they straight up could have taken it a completely different route with the whole legacy, fate, destiny thing. And that's just him taking over. He has the tactical knowledge and skills. He has the ability. And you end the scene with, our commander's over here. You end the movie with, commander's over here. I'll go introduce you. And Reese, maybe a little older, turns around, introduces himself as John Connor. That could have worked. Because if you subscribe to the concept that fate and destiny need to be maintained, the role needs to be filled. And you even see that in the Dark Fate timeline where we have a completely different commander. Yeah. The role needs to be filled, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that specific guy.
Yeah. There's so much they could have done with some of the concepts they presented in it, and it's just like every single step of the way, they made the wrong choice.
Pretty much. So, how do you fix it? Completely rewrite the script. All right. We've talked about that one a lot.
I got one more.
What's your last one?
The Predator. Now,
I don't think you can fix that trash fire.
I don't know, maybe. So, for those of you who have not seen The Predator, the basic gist of it is they completely fuck up the Predator lore, and the Predators are taking aspects of the greatest members of every species they go to improve themselves.
Hey, real quick, let me cut in here for a minute. Hey, how big of a Predator fan am I?
Pretty big.
I haven't seen this one, and I don't know if I'm going to. That's how bad it is.
Now, our main protagonist of this movie is... Hey, we talked about this in the Idiots on Film episode we just recorded.
Captain Whitebread?
Basically, he is a straight white male protagonist whose entire personality is he is a soldier and he cares about his family.
Does he have a strained relationship with his dad?
I don't know if that ever comes up, but he probably does if his dad's still alive.
Nah. Well, to be fair, it's hard to have a good relationship with your dad if he's dead.
Yeah. So...
I mean, unless you got a Ouija board.
So we're spending this movie meant to think that he is the badass the Predator is after. And, unfortunately, they telegraphed too much that he wasn't the badass that they was after, because his son is... Saying this hurts.
I'm gonna cry, aren't I? Am I gonna cry? Am I about to cry?
Yes.
Oh,
his
God.
son is a, 12-ish year old, I think, somewhere in that range. If he's teenager at all, he's still a very young teenager, and I think he was, in, the 8 to 10 range. Anyways, he is autistic and a savant at video games. And so the Predator thinks that he is the peak hunter of the human race because he's so good at video games. Now, there are some
baby, what have they done to you?
There are some really cool things that are brought into this movie. So one thing, we actually know that this world has dealt with the Predators before. And basically, apparently we also have this idea that there's two factions of Predators and one doesn't like the other, and they actually come to Earth with armor for humans to fight back. And this armor is really cool, and our generic soldier hero boy gets it. And
of course he fucking does.
One of the things that also really hurts this is he does get some really cool characters supporting him, because basically he finds the Predator's crashed ship and there's some military stuff, and essentially he gets sent to military prison because he's not going to keep his mouth shut about what he saw, and he ends up with a group of fucked up criminals, and they end up being the ones that are helping him fight the Predator. And every single one of those characters is more interesting than him, but they all die stupid, boring deaths. It's like, for the best way to fix this is to not make it at all. The second best way to fix it is to completely rewrite it and get rid of these stupid, idiotic fucking concepts like the Predator going after an autistic kid because it's so stupid that it thinks that the autistic kid is the peak hunter because he's good at video games. Do Predators not understand video games?
My guy. My dude. Fucking humans don't understand video games. And we invented the damn things.
Okay, fair.
Looking at you, Congress!
But do they not understand the concept of simulations? And that simulations aren't real?
Apparently not in that movie. I mean, this just feeds into the stupid fucking bullshit media concept that video games are murder simulators and will train you to be a killer. No! That's not how that works. There's a vast difference between... You know what? No, I'm going to rant on this fucking thing forever. let's just close this out.
Okay.
My last entry is a Star Wars Holiday Special. You want to know how you fix it? You burn it. The whole thing. Sometimes fixing means ashes.
Fire is very cleansing.
Purifying, even.
Purify with holy fire.
That's it for this week.
If you like what we do, please give us a like, follow, rating, and all that nonsense on your favorite podcatcher.
You can also support us on Patreon for special bonus content and episodes a week early, or tip us on Ko-Fi. Ko-Fi?
Something like that.
You can find those and our social media platforms Discord server in the show notes.
And be sure to give our friends over at Film Rage some love.
It's time to feel the rage. Join us on Film Rage, where we talk movies, current releases, coming attractions, streaming, and classic films as well. Directors and actors, beware as you cannot hide from the rage. My name is Bryce, and I'm part of the Film Rage crew, which also includes Jim.
Hey.
And Murray.
Yo.
Why is it you always talk all the time? I can't understand why your voice is so...
This is the Merman, the voice of reason. These two can't agree on anything most of the time. Some movies are mondo, some are just suck. Every week something is going to make us rage. Join us every Wednesday and
feel the rage.
God, those guys are idiots.
And we would know. Last but certainly not least, we want to give a quick shout out to all our supporters on Patreon and Ko-Fi, especially these idiots.
Random Warrior and Rain.
If you want to meet one of the idiots, now's your opportunity. Zolgar will be at Phoenix Fan Fusion from May 27th through the 29th, hanging out at the Crooked Feather, so feel free to drop by and say hi.